Hi, my name is Katie McLaughlin. I'm the founder, chief strategist, and transformation artist at McLaughlin Method. In this video, I'm going to explain a bit more about my method and how we use it to build empathy, build emotional intelligence, and create leaders who know how to build inclusion within their teams. Our method is focused on creating happier, healthier teams that can grow and think in an innovative way, can communicate, and come up with the next idea that is going to drive your business forward. And happy people are people who perform well and who are motivated to give their best at work. But right now, a lot of people don't feel like it is safe to give their best, to give their all. And we need our leaders to model and set the tone of what is appropriate in the workplace and how we can connect with one another as human beings. Now, as part of my method, we're going to dig deep, but we're going to use theater as a way to help bridge the gap and help it be a safe place to talk about some of the things that lie under the surface within your teams, within your company, and within your relationships at work. So here goes. We're going to talk through an exercise here. Now, part of why I love theater and why I love this activity is that you don't have to know the words to express how you're feeling. As a society, we are all lacking the vocabulary and the ability to name our emotions and to also kind of confront. It feels not safe to confront our real emotional landscape at work and how certain situations really make us feel. So instead of having to speak about them, we're going to use our bodies, we're going to use our facial expressions. We can play with the distance to the camera, so that way that can help communicate things. So an example that I'm going to use is going into a one-on-one with your manager or a leader. Now, as there's two people going into this, right? And so we can use the image to create both parties. So I want to think about, first of all, the employee, right? And the scenario that we have is that there's a relationship issue between that employee and that manager. The manager, as a leader, you've been realizing that you're having trouble connecting with this person, and maybe it's been frustrating for you, or maybe this person really needs to step it up and start performing because you're thinking about putting them on a performance improvement plan, or maybe even just letting them go. So if that's kind of the scenario, then let's think about that employee coming into this one-on-one. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Well, you may not know, but here's some images that are examples that might be how they're feeling. So they might be feeling like this, right? That's one image. And what does that image evoke for you, right? Fear, they're hiding, shame, right? They also might be feeling like they have to brace themselves, right? And but we're not entering the meetings like that, right? We all put on a mask, we all put on a face, right? So these images help us to see, wow, that's what's going on below the surface. And when you see me creating those images, I'm going to do them one more time. Here's one example. And then here's the other example, right? When you see those images, you can't help but start to feel something, right? That doesn't feel like something that you want to experience, but I bet many of you have felt the emotion that was created in both of those at some point in your lives. So if you have felt that before, if you recognized it, and if that emotion at any point in your career if that resonates with you, that is the first kernel towards building empathy for that person coming into that conversation. Now, as a manager, right, let's flip the script, right? And I usually ask people to shake it out, right? Because expressing these emotions through our body can sometimes get them clogged. So if you are a manager and you're going into this conversation knowing that you have to have a tough conversation, here are a few images that might come to mind for you. You might be maybe you feel like you have to fight, right? You might also come at it from a perspective of, oh, right? Like you don't want to, right? You also might come at it from a perspective of like fear, right? Maybe you're going to be really close, to that. And each of those generates a different feeling, right? Now, where you're coming from or where that individual is coming from is going to impact the way that you show up in those conversations. It's going to impact your actions, whether you like it or not, and whether you know it or not. So that's where you first start to reclaim your behavior and reclaim your power in these conversations, your power over your emotions. By acknowledging that this is how you feel, you can start to shift that. Because when you act from that feeling place that is afraid or feels like you have to fight or feels like you have to brace yourself, you're not showing up authentically. You are not showing up with kind of like your full, your full kind of rational mind, right? That executive function. You're actually showing up from a place that is maybe full of adrenaline and full of fight or flight emotions, and the, kind of brain chemicals, right? If that's driving you, you may not make the decisions that are going to be the most respectful. You may not say the things that you really mean to say. And by thinking about the possible perspective that your employee has, remember those images were like this, or, right? If that person's coming in that way, now you can start to think about what techniques could you use to help disarm them, right? Help them feel safe. So that might mean, where are you having that meeting? Maybe you could put it in a place that is more neutral rather than having it, in an office. Maybe you could allow them to set the time, right? And for some folks, it might also be about not having a conversation via video. Sometimes the act of having to be on video with your team can feel like it's not safe, right? So you could offer them options on how they could show up to that conversation and how that way they know that it's a safer environment for them to opt into. Because remember, your actions are informed by your intention, are informed by your emotions. And if I bet your intention is not to make them feel afraid, your intention is probably not to cause them to shut down or cause them to fight with you, right? Your intention is that you want to try to reach this person. You want to connect with them. You want to motivate them to be their best self. So narrow in on that intention, acknowledge the emotions that you're feeling, and then use a indicator of what their emotions are based on how they've shown up in the past to inform how you communicate with them in that high stakes conversation. I hope that this has given you a bit of a look at how theater is used to help us understand the emotions, the impact, all of the different dynamics that come into play within our conversations so that you can make intentional choices about how you're going to interact with your team so that way you can keep motivating them, you can create a safe space, and you can avoid using toxic behaviors that might just make the situation worse. If you want to learn more, I encourage you to connect with me, schedule a free consult. I'm happy to help, and I know that this work can help you wherever you're at in your business and within your company.